Welcome back to Mindful Eating, where we turn everyday food into everyday healing. Today we are going to talk about which diet can actually help in longevity and anti-aging. Stick around, you will get to know something interesting in this video. This is episode 4 of Longevity and Anti-Aging series. Let's get into it. Scientists just compared 3 of the biggest longevity diets side by side, and the results are not what most influencers are telling you. If you've ever wondered whether skipping meals, eating like you live on a Greek island, or just eating less overall is the real secret to a longer life, stick around, because the answer surprised even the researchers running these studies. Here's a number that should stop you mid-scroll. People who follow the top-performing diet in this comparison have up to a 25% lower risk of dying from any cause over a 10-year period. That's not a supplement claim. That's data from some of the largest population studies in nutrition science. So let's break down exactly which diet earns that number and which ones are riding on hype. Let's start with intermittent fasting because it's the one flooding your feed right now. Studies on time-restricted eating show real benefits: improved insulin sensitivity, lower inflammation, and a boost in autophagy, your body's natural cell cleaning process that clears out damaged proteins. But here's the catch nobody wants to admit. When researchers control for total calorie intake, most of fasting's benefits mostly disappear. A 2020 study published in the New England Journal of Medicine found that time-restricted eating alone, without calorie reduction, produced only modest weight and metabolic changes. The timing helps some people eat less without trying, but the clock itself isn't the miracle. Now here's a claim that actually holds up under pressure. The Mediterranean diet keeps outperforming almost everything else in long-term human trials. Decades of research on blue zone populations in Sardinia, Icaria, and Nicoya show dramatically lower rates of heart disease, cognitive decline, and all-cause mortality. The Predimed trial, one of the largest randomized nutrition studies ever conducted, found that a Mediterranean diet supplemented with olive oil or nuts reduced major cardiovascular events by roughly 30% compared to a low-fat diet. This isn't a trend diet. It's one of the most replicated findings in the history of nutrition research. But what if the real secret isn't what you eat at all, just how much? Caloric restriction without any specific food pattern has the strongest data of any intervention in animal studies, extending lifespan in everything from yeast and worms to primates. In humans, the Calorie trial found that cutting calories by just 12% for 2 years slowed biological aging markers and reduced oxidative stress. Here's the problem, though. Almost nobody can sustain aggressive calorie cuts for decades. Nutrient deficiencies, muscle loss, and metabolic slowdown become real risks when restriction isn't managed carefully. And most people who try extreme versions of this diet quit within a year. So which one actually wins the longevity race? The research increasingly points to combining principles rather than picking a single camp. A moderate calorie reduction of around 10 to 15%, built on a Mediterranean-style eating pattern rich in vegetables, olive oil, fish, and legumes, with occasional time-restricted eating windows layered on top, shows the most consistent results across large population studies and clinical trials. This combination approach also happens to be the one blue zone populations follow naturally, without ever counting a single calorie or macro. Here's something most videos on this topic completely skip. Consistency matters more than perfection. Researchers tracking longevity outcomes repeatedly find that people who follow a good enough diet for 30 years outlive people who follow a perfect diet for 3 months and then burn out. Extreme protocols make for great headlines, but sustainable habits are what actually show up in mortality data decades later. If you want to actually add years to your life, stop chasing the diet that's trending this month and start building the eating pattern you can still be following at 80 years old. Follow for more evidence-based breakdowns on the foods, habits, and daily choices that actually move the needle on how long and how well you live. Subscribe to Mindful Eating for more interesting videos. See you in the next one.